Dolphins fans. I am proud to be here today with two of my heroes on another episode of the Fins Bandwagon. Guys, shockingly, I got Brett Lagasse to come on the bandwagon. Miracles do happen and pigs do fly. Welcome to the bandwagon, Brett. Michael, it's always a pleasure to see you guys. It was awesome to spend time with you guys last week during the draft coverage. Honestly, like a year ago, it was just a small little group. I got to join it, but now the powers that be, we put something amazing together. Guys, thank you for joining our show. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Brett, Michael, how you both doing tonight?
I'm
great,
good.
Man. Yeah.
You're doing great. Are you guys feeling the draft blues? Are we already? When do we start the 2024 show?
Well, I'm already starting to look into 2024 tape. I actually just started watching JT O'Sullivan's breakdown of Drake May. And if you're a draft person and you want to learn more about quarterback, go watch
Drake
his channel.
May knows what he's doing.
You learn so much, man. I try to like a sponge as much as I can off of different people and learn different perspectives. So I've been starting getting into that myself.
I think what's going to be cool is that because a lot of us are newbies to the draft world and all that, and we only have a little bit of time after the season started, the fact that we're all so into it now, and the fact that we really want to learn from each other, that fact that I think we're all going to start doing it now. So, like, when it comes to draft season next year, we're really going to be, like, it's going to be a different level for us. Yeah. We'll probably be able to put our own book together about this. We'll be able to put our own guide together at that point.
Already got formulas for that. Don't you worry. I already got somebody putting together the list of players and stats and stuff.
No, I'm already putting together. We're going to put together a little fun for the Senior Bowl. We're going to go.
I'm down for it. I'm down for it.
Michael, how you doing?
I'm good, man. Like you guys have said, man, I've already got a nice little grid going with my tackles and centers and guards for next year. So I'm. Now that this year's done, we gotta get rolling for next year. Let's rock and roll, baby.
Yeah, no, guys. So I think we're gonna have some fun tonight. We're gonna just talk about what you guys thought about the draft picks. I actually wasn't kidding, and I sort of gave a tease last night because I got pulled into the East 10th Street Boys, which is a lot of fun because they talk about different topics, but they needed some hockey aficionados. So being from Montreal, like no one knows hockey like Montrealers, like in Canada, and ironically, I cheer for all teams except the Toronto Maple Leafs. So basically, the Panthers are playing the Leafs in hockey. So like for me, I'm ripping a Canadian team for half an hour, like and really pushing the bandwagon on the Panthers. So it was a lot of fun for those people watching. We got a Montrealer, a Canadian cheering for an American team. It was a lot of fun. But and congratulations, Brett, on your 76ers. Joel Embiid, he lost his mind. Congratulations. By the way, for a guy, I got to give him credit. He started his career with a really bad injury, and the fact that he carried that team this year, and even when he was out, they played for him. Harden had a phenomenal game. Congratulations, you guys are playing with house money nowadays.
I couldn't believe it because I've been waiting for this from Harden. I'm not I'm not. It's the Sixers lose. It doesn't really affect me. Dolphins are the football is my favorite sport. Yeah. But I'll watch basketball, baseball casually. Love my Phillies, love my Sixers. But if they lose, damn, all right, next year. But with Harden, when they got him, okay, cool. We're a good player in the last year. Maybe that he's past his prime. And then when I saw what he did last night, I'm like, holy hell! If you keep this up, we could go. I'm all for an underdog conference championship between the Heat and the Sixers. I'm all about that. That would be one hell of a conference finals.
Yeah, it's phenomenal. So, Michael, everything else good with you? Do you follow basketball at all? You're not into it?
Nah, I don't follow basketball.
You're in North Carolina. Basketball.
Well, I'm originally from Indiana. And,
oh, my God. You're a loser.
You figured I'd be into it deep.
My brother every sport.
Yeah. No, not much. Not much into basketball. Baseball.
So I want to just frame the title of today's show. So I made a joke last night. I think Bobby lost his mind when I said the Dolphins won the draft. And when I said that, and I wasn't kidding, I want to tell you why. Okay, I'm going to break the news.
I already know where you're going.
This is not a prediction; it's a spoiler. Let me explain to you why we won the draft, and I'm going to put it into perspective. Then we're going to go on. Okay, and I realized this on Saturday night after the draft was over. I really thought about this. We're in that 2-year window with Tua, and the players around him that. We want to win now.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, this is our breakdown. Even with Ross getting killed, even if you take away that first round pick, we used our first round pick on Bradley Chubb. The second round pick, we took Cam Smith. The third round, we had Devon Achane, and we used our third round pick this year only to get Jalen Ramsey. The fourth round pick that we had, the reason why we didn't have it is we used it to get Tyreek Hill. And the fifth round pick, who do you guys remember why we don't have a fifth round pick? Who did we use to get it? Jeff Wilson. Sixth round is Elijah Higgins. Seventh round is Ryan Hayes. So if you factor the fact in, is that even if we didn't have a lot of draft picks, the talent that we got on our team during this draft weekend, no matter what we could have done during draft weekend in this window, even if we had all 7 rounds, was never going to give us the return of a Chubb, a Ramsey, and a Hill. So the way the team is built, we utilize our draft picks in a very, very smart way. We just didn't give them away for nothing, right? It's not like we're going to give up a first-round pick for all 3 of those players. Like the Jalen Ramsey and the Tyreek Hill are definitely worth first-round picks this year. We didn't have to give those up, which is phenomenal. Right. So for me, that's why I was basically saying that we did a wonderful job drafting this year, because in the end, when I really thought about it, because my raw reaction, as you all know, and Michael, you'll get used to it this year, whenever there's post-game shows, I'm really, really, really hard on McDaniel and the team when they don't play well.
You are.
But then I flick my switch 48 hours later, and I have the bandwagon to redeem myself. So the Cam Smith, like I said when I announced it, I kept. Bobby said it last night. He said it this morning, and I want to get your opinion. Brett, I'm going to let you guys go, and I'm going to shut up. I love the player as I've watched him play, and I like the depth concept. It wasn't the pick I would have made. Same thing with Achane, because of the fact that we could potentially get Dalvin Cook, which, by the way, there's a rumor from the guys in Minnesota that if you trade him before post June 1st, they don't cut him. They're only asking for a 5th round pick for him right now. So the Dolphins are leading for that one. So that's why that one surprised me. The Elijah Higgins is a very interesting experiment. Ryan Hayes being a starter at left tackle gives me confidence, because I think he did, even if he doesn't start, he's a nice piece because he did start left tackle for 30 games. So I like that. So for me, overall, you can take my perspective, tell me you agree or disagree, and then I want you both to take your time to reflect on the picks and tell me what you overall thought of the picks and what they do for the Dolphins this season. So, Brett, go first.
Overall, they drafted with the future in mind. So they drafted with, from your perspective of what you're saying, they traded the first for Chubb. They traded a Josh, actually, it's a good point there to put that in perspective like that too. Traded the third for Ramsey. They traded a
5th for Wilson.
5th for Wilson. So they got
4th for Tyreek. One of the 4th was for Tyreek.
Right. So they got 2 picks, 2 corners or 2 secondary players, right? 2 running backs, a pass rusher, which would be a premium position, 2 defensive backs, premium position, 2 running backs, and offensive line, and move tight end. I'm going to be kind of specific with him. So it's not overall on the surface, not a bad draft. I still like Chubb. I still like to trade for Chubb. I don't like how much we paid him, but at the same time, I like what he offers as a run defender. I like what he offers, period. Pass rush got better for them. Second round, Smith is not the corner or the player I expected to go there. It's not who I wanted. It was by some BPA. We don't really know that it was BPA. We're just basing on what information we know, how we've graded all that stuff. But it might not have technically been. However, I don't hate the pick. I'm not in love with the pick. I like the player. I think he's got future potential. I think he can hopefully play now. Once I found out that Ramsey is going to be moving around a lot more, which is why I've said this on the last show, I was excited. I wanted Derwin James in that 2018 draft.
You loved him, yeah.
Yeah, and Ramsey, same school, same player. They played together. He offers the same kind of thing, and that's exciting to have him move around, which does maybe allow Cam Smith, Kohu, Needham, and X to all kind of move around or do what they do best. And then that allows Holland to kind of do what he does best and kind of take that next step. Now, so I do like the pick, and I think it can help now in that aspect, and I hope it helps now. I don't want a Tyndall situation.
No.
Now, Achane, I think he probably makes an immediate impact because he becomes a third option for Tua. Tua started throwing to Mostert more. You saw against the Bills. It happened later in the game. Had he done it earlier in the game, we could have won. I don't know. Mostert started becoming an option. Mostert got a lot of his yards as a receiver in that game, and he was eating. He was doing really good as a receiver, and he was just making stuff available. And he knew his timing to get out. And A-Chain can line up as a slot receiver, as an out wide. He can line up X, Y, Z. He can line up, run out of the backfield. He can become a weapon. And I'm only talking the pass game. As a rusher, he can become a weapon in this offense. But you still have Wilson and Mostert, hopefully Dalvin Cook, plus A-Chain. That's one hell of a backfield. And maybe even Savon Ahmed on the practice squad. Now, I wanted Savon Ahmed to get more reps as a receiver last year. So them going, and he started to near the end of the season. So them getting the A-Chain is, I think McDaniel's answer to say, basically doing the opposite of what they did with Debo, right? They put Debo as a running back. Well, now they're saying, hey, we're going to take an athletic running back and create mismatch problems as a receiver. Yep. So I like that. And you saw the with James White and the Patriots did that like 4 or 5 different backs for decades and created problems. So I'm thinking that's the route they're going to go, and I like A-Chain for that. Higgins, I don't know. He was compared to Jordan Reed, but we had Thomas Durante, who was kind of the same thing. But we also had Charles Clay, who was like a tweener as well. Mm-hmm. But Higgins, off the bat, is already a better blocker than Gesicki. Already a better blocker than Durante was. And they originally used Durante as some comparisons because we drafted him for going for wide receiver to tight end. But Higgins is a beast of a blocker. We're in a 4.5 40, runs after the catch, and catches the ball well. And he actually fights for the ball in traffic. He's physical. He's a dog. There's a theme with this draft. The guys they've drafted are physical, and they're dogs. And that's not something we've done. And I like that. We need more dogs in the roster, and I think that's a McDaniel effect. And then I think so I'm not – if the project doesn't work out with Higgins, 6th-round pick, whatever. If it does, awesome. Then Ryan Hayes out of Michigan. Physical run blocker, not an overly big guy, a little bit slender build, not crazy athlete. Worries me going against power, so I'm worried about him get kicked inside to guard because of his short arms. So I'd rather have him outside, but then, is he athletic enough? I don't know. We'll see. But developmental guy, if he becomes a swing tackle or a serviceable backup, it's a good pick. If not, whatever, it's 7th-round pick. We don't really miss much. And then they were very active in the undrafted free agent market too.
Plenty of space. So, they had to find. They literally had 20 spots available on the OTA roster. That's why they can go eat, right? Right, and I'm okay. Go for it. So we just talked about this on Real Talk. Aubrey Miller, Uolave, who from the center. Arizona State, when we can use depth at center because Connor Williams is like our only center on the roster. Feeney's so we need backup, but Feeney's not a pro center.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. I don't know how good he's going to be. I like Feeney, but I don't know where he's going to be. So all kind of competition I'm cool with. Peely, the defensive tackle at USC.
You know that Dan Feeney is getting paid more than Raheem Mostert? Dan Feeney has a $3 million.
That's crazy. That is pretty crazy. Let's see. Peely, the tackle at USC, I actually like. I think he might be Raekwon Davis's replacement. Yeah. I mean, if he plays halfway decent, he could replace.
What do you think of Raekwon?
I like Raekwon.
I think it's a lot to prove, but I think it's a prove or lose it year for him. This is his last year.
Well, as much as I love Raekwon, he's going to get paid. Someone's going to pay him. He's going to go somewhere. And I kind of hope it's not Miami because he's a run stopper. And I can find guys like that. He eats up space. He does his job, what he's asked to do. But I think you could find that. And I don't want to pay Wilkins and him. That's a lot of money on the interior defensive line. If we're going to pay Wilkins, you got to let Davis walk next year.
The Steeler won't catch it on.
No. So Michael, I like him, but I'm not paying him.
Yeah, then we'll go into the draft also. But Michael, so your turn. What do you reflect? You had a lot to say during you were amazing on the draft show. So back Cam Smith, Devon A-Chain, Ryan Hayes, who was your old lineman. And by the way, and also reflect back, if you circle back, had you not taken Cam Smith there, had you not taken, forget 6th, 7th round. Those are projects. They work out great. But with A-Chain where he was and where Cam Smith where he was, who would you have taken? And would you have taken? What was your initial reaction? Who did you want at those picks? And now that you reflect now, are you okay with the pick?
Oh, I don't even remember who was available
I can tell
back
you.
at that
Charbonnet
spot.
was still there. Charbonnet was still there. He was the next pick.
I know, but I wasn't like Bobby was really on Charbonnet, and I knew
Dewan
that
Jones.
there was
Dewan Jones was there.
Dewan Jones. Like if we would have
Still
gotten
there.
Dewan Jones, that's me. And I know that people scared off
Big
by
feet.
the size,
Big
but
feet, right?
yeah, he would definitely have been one that I would have taken. I think Brett summed it up perfectly. I mean, he hit
That's the best.
everything that I wanted to say. He all said the same thing. A couple of the undrafted guys that I'm very interested in, like we said, in the pre-draft process, the kid from Jackson State, Aubrey Miller, I felt like I thought he was going to get drafted. So I like that we picked him up. I'm very interested in the Peely kid from USC, the defensive lineman. And then I watched some tape on Jarrett Horst, the tackle from Michigan State. He got some nasty dog in him. So
I haven't watched him yet. I need to really watch him.
He had this one play where he's got the dude and the play is almost over, and he goes to extend and then throws him down and jumps back, so the guy has pancakes on the ground. I was like, okay.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah.
So,
it felt like what was his? I knew I was going to forget his name tonight. The guard we used to have had a little nasty in him with the issue with Incognito.
Incognito?
Bully Gate.
Yeah, he had a little Incognito.
Who was the guy he bullied? I forget who he bullied. He bullied
Martin.
Horst is the kid from Arkansas State.
Yeah.
Okay.
He was
at No. You said it right. He was a kid. He was at Arkansas State, and then he transferred to Michigan State in 2021.
Yeah.
Okay. I actually watched him at Arkansas State at some point, and then spent a lot of time on him. Okay.
Yeah.
But I think, by the way, this is a lot of Marvin Allen. This is a lot of where Marvin Allen succeeds, in this area.
So the draft was different this year.
I think the undrafted free agent. I think that's where he really goes to work.
Well, a lot of your undrafted free agents are a mix of coaches, scouts, assistant GMs, because your GM doesn't have time to run the entire team and do all that legwork. So you have to rely on your scouts.
The team?
Yeah, but this draft was interesting. I think Marvin Allen was more involved. Someone else had mentioned it, and then you see Marvin Allen in some of the interviews with Greer. I think Marvin Allen's getting more and more involved. I think Greer is more involved in the money stuff. But
I wonder what McKenzie does. I wonder what McKenzie's doing back there, because he's been an executive in the league for so long. I just wonder what his role is.
I think McKenzie's like, let me help my friend get a job kind of thing, and help me and be like a second person. Like, I honestly just think I forgot what his title is, but it's one of those things where it's like they just have a team going. I think Marvin Allen's a sharp guy. He was with Buffalo, and he was with Kansas City. Yeah. And that was one when they drafted Mahomes and when they drafted Allen. So then Greer promoted them up and offered them a nice little bonus to come to Miami. And I'm like, usually not a big fan of Greer, like what he's done. This year hasn't been terrible. I still think there's some things we need to do. They get Dalvin Cook that really helps some things out. I'm just glad they didn't spend every resource and put it in the offensive line, as crazy as that sounds, because they realized that's not working. Get playmakers, start increasing your backfield. And we still had 4 yards of carry last year, so start pushing.
Closer to 5. It was actually closer to 5, right? It was like 4. I think Mostert averaged like 4.7, and I think Wilson averaged 4. And ironically, it was so funny. You know, and what's his name? Ahmed didn't have a lot of runs, but he averaged close to 6.
Yeah,
that many runs, right? So we didn't face a lot of pressures last year. The problem with the offensive line was, in the end, when they needed those 1 or 2, 3 yards on third and fourth down, they couldn't get it. Right, that was their problem. Like in the trenches, which we all love, that they weren't pushing the needle to give us that 1 or 2 yards. But let me ask you, in the running game,
you say that, but in the Buffalo game, it's not that they weren't getting the yards; it's we just stopped running the ball.
I agree. That was McDaniel. Right? I'm talking about in those games where we're on the field at third. If you go back, we probably went for 4th and 1 at least twice a game. Yeah. And it was hit or miss if we were ever going to get it. So let me ask you, do we have a running back right now, including A-Chain, that you truly believe, based on last year and this year, if we have the offensive line right now with the current as it's set up, and then maybe they add back a Shell or a Fleming, is there a running back there that, because that's what the thing with Derrick Henry, I know he's a different beast, but he had the worst offensive line in the league, and he still was able to always get yards. Is there a running back or a fullback right now on this roster that you trust that can get you the guaranteed 4th and 1 every single time? Because we don't have a quarterback that can sneak. So what would you do? Where do you guys want to do? Like, that's what the whole thing with the offensive line. So where do you guys think being trenches guys also, do we have that running back yet, or is it really cooked? Or can A-Chain do it? Can A-Chain do that role?
Well, it depends on how you do it. I mean, because you still have Ingold up front. You can use Higgins as like a move, tight end, H-back kind of thing too. Sometimes you have to get creative, but A-Chain doesn't really have the power to push the pile. Jeff Wilson has some size and some power, but he runs with a narrow frame, so I don't know how much power he would have there. So there's still like Cook there because he's explosive. But I do think that's where A-Chain can help because he does have a quick first step. And I think A-Chain has that like explosive to kind of get there. With most of the time he's decisive. That's a big thing too.
Yeah, because if you remember both of you last year, very often on 3rd and 2, 4th and 1, we would do slants. They knew it was coming. It was like when Hill was going to Waddle on a slant, and it never worked. And
right.
That happened in the Buffalo game twice on 3rd and 4th and 1, that particular play. So, so one point I wanted to make. So Cam Smith, I believe, was truly a Fangio pick, and then A-Chain was a McDaniel pick. Yeah. Now, for me, I truly believe that Cam Smith will play outside in games where we're facing, like a game like against Kansas City. I think Ramsey's going to come inside, and he's going to basically in the shadow Travis Kelce the whole game. But then the one player you guys haven't talked about much, which I want to see, with the depth now we have in the secondary, what's going to be Brandon Jones' true role team? I think he plays more of closer to a linebacker role, the way he was hitting last year. So where does Brandon Jones, with all this depth, the one player no one has brought up, and I think he had a great year last year before he got injured, where do you both see Brandon Jones' role falling on this roster? Because you also have Deshaun Elliott, so where do you see him fitting in?
Well, so more traditional safety. They rotate their safeties up and down. So, and it does seem like a decent class, by the way. I am going to dig in more into them. But so far, I like the fact that they're bringing in a bunch of young offensive linemen and just kind of like almost like throwing at the wall, hey, whoever sticks, sticks. And let's go. I'm all about that. But so we're back to that. I think Brandon Jones is going to play a traditional safety role, and he's going to be moved a little bit. Fangio doesn't get cute. So I think he's going to move him around a little bit, but I think on certain situations, I think it's going to be packages of Brandon Jones is in the packages where he's off the field. He might be in big nickel, maybe. They might have him in certain situations where he's in the box playing against the run. And then they're going to have him. I think they're going to have Ramsey dropping back to play safety. So it's going to be like a rotation. Elliott, I don't see he might even start over Jones.
Yeah.
So I think Jones will be more a package guy, but I don't see it as a problem necessarily because you can also move Holland around, so they like to interchange their guys. Yeah. But Elliott isn't a guy that he's definitely going to play a lot of snaps on defense. So I think it's just going to be a rotation of guys and just keeping them healthy, keeping them fresh. And we saw the injuries last year in the secondary. So I think that's kind of what the plan is with that, is to rotate your secondary a little bit, and which Fangio did do that. I don't mean like pass rush like a lot, but there's going to be certain packages where they're going to be moving these guys around.
I agree.
We have no problem talking about the offensive line. I just want to remind people, and maybe Michael go, the offensive line for most teams, there's always a hole in the offensive line. There's no team has not many teams have perfect offensive line, and when they have, it lasts a year because they can't hold on to all of them anyway. Right? Yeah. They're aberrations to have stout 5 linemen across the board. Even the Eagles lost from their run last year, right? So, so Michael,
you just got to keep drafting and developing them, man. Yeah. And Miami's not been good at that, but.
But we'll get into that after with the stuff. But Michael,
I mean, if it were me as the GM, like Mike McDaniel said, he wanted to try and get an edge rusher in every draft. I think you have to, depending on how many draft picks you have to get linemen. Whether it's, in the first round, the third round, or the 7th round, you have to get linemen that you feel you can coach and get to and until you hit on 5 guys that can build that wall for you to be successful, and I think the jury's still out on the Brandon Jones, and just because Fangio's new to Miami and how he's going to use what player, we don't know until the season gets rolling. So when push comes to shove, I agree with what Brett was saying earlier.
So speaking of Fangio, we'll talk a little bit about the defense. Continue. What do you think the holdup is with Christian Wilkins? I have a feeling I know what it is, but what do you think the feeling is? And are you and what if you were to keep him as a Dolphin? What's the most you'd give him? And what do you think the holdup is in signing? Because it would create more cap space, but why do you think what's holding them back from just getting that deal done? Right?
Oh man. So yes, by the way, on that comment, too much rotation can be a bad thing. I don't think it's going to be rotated a lot, but I think there's just going to be packages mixed in.
Yeah.
And it'll just keep the guys fresh. Man, I don't want to say the holdup is because they're seeking trades. I think the holdup is they're looking at every option available to them, how they want to structure the contract. They've already kicked the can down the road 24 and 25, and I don't think they wanted to bite them in the ass. So they're probably looking at it like, what do we do? How do we structure this contract so that it makes sense for both sides? I don't think Wilkins is a guy that I better get paid more than everybody at this position. I don't think he's that guy. He's not going to let his agent do that, but he's also not going to be the guy that says, like, I'm going to lower the market either.
Right.
So he's going to want that deal that doesn't hurt the market, but also doesn't hurt the team. Yeah. So I think some of it too could be they're also looking at maybe trading for Dalvin Cook, and they're also looking at the post-June 1st money. So the extension might not happen until the summer as well. Yeah. So
I think
they also want this sign of the free agents too. So.
Right. And I think if you were to have a little sit down with Wilkins himself, like I think he wants to be in Miami. Like he has a wonderful spirit about him. And I think, every time the offense scores or he comes in, on offense and goal line situations, like he's a great player with a great spirit. And like Brett was saying, like, I don't think he wants that top dollar money, but he wants to get paid what he deserves. Now, what that is, I'm terrible with the money portion of the NFL. So I'll let people more.
No, I'm actually convinced. I think last year they jumped the gun with after he had one great year and with the team in Emmanuel Ogbah, and Greer gave him the money. So I think there's a little gun shy with that a little bit. But also I think they want OTAs to get in and then a little bit of training camp for Fangio to see how Christian Wilkins fits in his defense, because he's really a run stopper. And the one thing I think he's seen when he looks at tape is that he doesn't get to the quarterback as often as he does. And ironically, I think what also helps Christian Wilkins last year is he has Zach Sealer by him. I think they really complement each other. And I don't think that either one of them last year was successful without the other. So they're sort of a yin and a yang. So I think that's the one thing. I think if you sign one, you're going to end up signing both. And I think that's where they're playing with the money. Like, I think one thing they're going to say to Wilkins is, you want to be on this team. We can't give you as much money as you want because we need to sign your buddy over there. So I think that's what's a little bit holding it back. But I think midsummer, I think the Dolphins are going to have a very, very big juke. That's one thing. He's saying, don't need Cook for rookie show. I think we do need a Cook, because I think the one thing about Cook, and maybe you guys will tell me if you agree or disagree, McDaniel, similar to what Shanahan did in San Francisco, he had the Mostert, he had the Ayuk, he had the Elijah Mitchells, and he would use them when he needed to use them. But McDaniel did the same thing with Mostert and Wilson last year. But if you put a star back there who knows they need the rock in order to be successful, he's going to have no choice but to give the ball to Cook. You can avoid giving it to A-Chain and Mostert and Wilson. You can't not give it to Cook. So that's where I think that's one of the things we have to be wary of.
I think the thing with Cook that I like is because he's been in the league for a while and he wants the rock. So you get a nice little lead quarters 1 through 3, and then you turn it over to the Dalvin Cook show in the fourth quarter, run the clock, and get out of there with a W.
Yeah,
I think that's what he can bring that the others. Mostert has shown it a little bit, but none of them that I'm like, oh, hey, that guy's our go-to in the fourth quarter.
And think about this: Jeff Wilson wasn't a starter in San Francisco, and when they got Christian McCaffrey, they pretty much Wilson was out of the job there, because of the two guys that they have. So they traded Wilson, who was expendable. Not that he wouldn't have got cut when they got McCaffrey. It was just, hey, he's no longer needed.
He wanted out. He demanded a trade.
Yeah, and he wants to be in Miami, and that's fine. And long term, I think Wilson could be somebody that stays in Miami for a couple more years.
Right.
But Mostert is pretty much this year. That's it. Yeah. And I like Mostert. Bobby, tell you, last year I was not a big fan when we got Edmonds. I was like, he's okay. But when we got Mostert, I was like, okay, now I'm happier. I like Mostert, but I still wanted to add another back.
Yeah.
And then when we traded Edmonds and got Wilson, I was actually happier because I like Wilson better than Edmonds. I don't have any problem with Edmonds, but for what our offense does, I didn't think he was a fit from the beginning. I think that was either McDaniel kind of thinking he was fit and didn't work, or Greer thought something. And I think a chain is the guy what they wanted Edmonds to be. But also with Mostert, he was on a pitch count last year, although he had the most carries he had in his career because he had no choice but to run the ball. And then he had the most yards of his career last year. So I don't expect they're going to run him into the ground or anything this year, and they're going to rotate their backs. But I would like to see them add another back, although I am looking at Chris Young at a BYU that we got as an undrafted free agent. With this system, he's a perfect fit. Tyler Algier, who plays for the Falcons, also played at BYU, and both of them played really well in that style system. I'm intrigued to see if he does anything in preseason in this offense, and if he kind of turns some heads. And you know how this system is. Undrafted free agents that are just perfect fits. It's definitely not unheard of at all. Yeah. And I think Chris Young could be the guy that fits in perfectly. I'm not saying all pro. I'm just saying a guy that comes in and fits and does well.
I think the other thing that we have to keep in mind, everybody, wants to dog the Dolphins and they're going to be worse this year, whatever. I mean, this is the first year that they're going to have the same offense back to back in forever. Because under Flores, they had a different coordinator every year. Under Gase, he changed stuff so much, and so this is like Mike McDaniel had said that now we don't have to worry about the thickness of it. Now we can tweak some things and make things better and add some wrinkles and stuff that we didn't have last year. So
for sure, that's what I'm looking for.
That to me is exciting. Yeah,
and he's no longer a rookie head coach, right?
Yeah,
and unlike Vic Fangio. We can always say that Josh Boyer, in theory, last year was also a rookie defensive coordinator because we all know between the tea leaves he did not have defensive play.
3rd and 18, baby. 3rd and 18.
Right? So that 3rd and 18 play was the worst play in NFL history. But no, that's for me. We're not going in with rookies next year. Even Jerome Baker, I don't know if you guys had a chance to read a little bit what he said, but he felt like a new lease on life. He's also seen so many defensive teams the last couple of years. But they're all the one thing about Fangio is he's not going to sugarcoat it, and they know they actually believe in the guy that's in that room teaching, which is a good thing, right?
Well,
we have experience at all levels. So
I kind of get misconstrued with Jerome Baker because I actually like Jerome Baker. I think he catches heat at the wrong times, but I think Baker was limited in that defense. I'm worried about him in zone, but I trust him in zone better than I do man. He has one thing he does really well, but at the same time, I think in this system, if David Long stays healthy, I think he'll be fine. But I also like Channing Tindall in this system a lot as a zone guy, as a guy who can cover, as your nickel linebacker on passing downs. I really like him in this system for that. As far as as a rundown guy, he is a tackler. He will tackle you. He's a sure tackler, which I love. It reminds me of Lawrence Timmons. But can he mentally figure it out? If Tindall can, that changes his linebacker core. And now you got a good set of linebackers. If not, it's kind of iffy. But I do like Long. So he just needs to stay healthy.
Yeah. I don't see Jerome Baker. Jerome Baker on 3rd down, get him off the field.
Yeah, I don't see him having to cover much unless there's injury reason. Tindall has to step up in order for it to happen. Although Duke Riley – people got to give him some credit. He's decent in coverage. He's not – none of our linebackers are special, in my opinion. I still want another difference maker at linebacker, but I don't know. And he couldn't grasp it in Georgia either. He got bypassed by Nakobe Dean and a couple of the linebackers. So he's talented for sure. But that was my biggest concern about him is can he learn the defense?
It didn't zone a little bit more easily because it's more of a unified defense where you're really there to complement each other. I think it might be a little easier for him to.
This defense is a lot, in a sense, a lot more archaic. It's simplistic. It's just you're not. Yeah, but you are asked to win your matchups. You are asked to use your God-given talent to win your matchups. So you will have to work on your skills in the offseason and your technique. And so, hope Phillips does.
Hey guys, don't forget to subscribe. My Thirsty keeps on reminding me. I always bug right on huddle up and wait. Don't forget to subscribe. Guys, you have to understand. For me, this is like Christmas for me. I get to watch these two brilliant minds who talk so much over the last year and during draft season. I'm like, I just like listening. You ever know?
I mean, you got to raise your standards, buddy. I mean, Michael's smarter than me, but
Brett, remember, a year ago it was you, Bobby. A year ago it was you and Bobby.
Yep.
And Hank. That was it. Look now.
Yeah.
Look at what it's become.
Well, we've grown. Bobby has like kicked some tail, man. We have really grown. It's been a fun experience, man.
It's a lot of fun.
We got a whole life out. And whenever we do shows like this, watch the draft, and it's like a bunch of buddies that like known each other for years, just hanging out, having a good time, and
it really was
we laugh.
When you talk about like watching the draft, I felt it was a lot more fun being, the group.
Draft was awful. If you had to watch it on TV, you would have done it would have been. It
was killing me.
Dude.
Like I had to not be on the podcast at all to watch it on TV.
Bro, I was like watching on TV, and normally I told the guys, I'm like, I don't want spoilers. Some of you guys saw that in the chat.
Yeah,
I don't want spoilers. Don't ruin it for me. And watch it live. But it was so drawn out. Hanging out with you guys in the draft, I'm like, well, this is more fun anyway because we could just do our own thing. And it was funny because we would say something about a player, and then next thing you know, the dinosaur feed would come up, and the analysts are saying something similar. I'm like, we've already beat you.
Yes,
we've already beat you.
So I want to get back a little bit to the offensive line, and then I'm going to end up a little bit. We'll talk about Tua in a minute. Like I like always end the show with him because I have an interesting perspective on that one. I want to ask you guys an interesting question about that. But on the offensive line right now. No, not thinking of doing about health. But talking about the offensive line quickly. Right now, if they sign a Cameron Fleming or Brandon Shell, for me, it's not necessarily Eichenberg and Jackson, which we'll talk about Jackson in a minute. But who is the backup left tackle day one right now? With all the players that they have on sign, is it Ryan Hayes? Like, who is the backup left tackle? Who is it?
Is it Shell? Is Shell's
not signed
right now? Right now, I don't know. I mean, technically, right now, you don't have one. You didn't go into the season with one. Is Eric Fisher still available? Is Shell still available? I mean, I think what they're going to do.
I can't do it. Robert Jones is more of a guard.
Not Robert Jones. Robert Hunt.
Because he played one game last year. He was 2 years ago. Remember that last game, which was nothing game. He played great that game. He didn't get off the sack. He was great. So,
Robert Hunt, I think, is your right tackle in pinches when you get really thin. I like that they want to keep him in one position. I really respect that. No, it is not. It is Strongbow. I can't do the heavy stuff anymore, man. It tears my stomach up. They don't only have one, and that's where they're getting these offensive linemen. The horse, who's the kid we got from Arizona State last year? I was hoping he would have made the team last year. Yeah, Deach. I don't even know if he's still on the team. I think someone picked him up.
I think he's on the roster. I think he might still be in the practice squad. I can't remember.
Is he still in the practice squad? I thought someone picked him up. Could be wrong. But, I think they're just going to let these guys battle it out. Hayes, Horse, they're going to just let them all battle it out. And then, I mean, you never know. Somebody might win it that they're not expecting, or they might sign Shell. They might get Fleming. Or my personal favorite idea is trade for Terrence Steele. Yeah. He's approved, but it's a second round tenure. It's a little high, so I don't know how tenders work. If you can offer something else to drop that price down, I don't know. Or if they could take a 25 second round pick, who knows? But I would try to trade for him.
He's on the Bears. He's on the Bears.
Bears. Okay. I'm about to say I thought he got picked up because I was disappointed to see like developmental guy leave.
Yeah, I get it. So go ahead, Bob. What do you think, Michael? What do you think's happening?
Well, I just went through the roster and I don't see names that have much experience to it. So I'm not, as of right now, I don't know who would be the backup right now.
Yeah, Keon Smith, maybe. I mean, Kendall Lamb.
Oh,
you know what? Kendall Lamb, let's give him his flowers. Because last year, I thought in the pinch that he had to play left tackle. I thought he did good late in the season. Very limited duty, but he didn't look terrible at all. And at the end of the day, you just have to be serviceable.
Yeah.
Jerron
Christian.
Yeah,
I know they like him.
Yeah, they have Jerron Christian. Yeah, they have Jerron Christian too. But I think in the end they're going to end up signing Fleming. Like I think they know they can swing tackle.
Everybody's favorite, Liam Eichenberg.
Although I told Liam Eichenberg is spending a lot of time with Teron Armstead. So you don't know what he's going to do at guard. You don't know because by the way, he has the skill set to do it. He's just I don't know what do you think's holding him back? Is it just because he just hasn't grasped the NFL?
Well, I mean, this is just it's spitballing, but at Notre Dame he had a stud offensive line coach, and then you come to the Dolphins and you have a new line coach every year, and the one year
no one talks about Butch Berry though, right?
And the one year the guy had never been an offensive line coach before. I don't remember what it was.
Yeah,
but Frank Smith is supposed to be focused on the offensive line.
So if you don't have that solid thing, and you got guys that aren't sure of how things need to get done at the NFL level, I mean, you can make excuses for anything.
Yeah, I'm not.
Well, I ask you this. Here's kind of what a problem is with Jackson and Eichenberg. And Jackson, I'm really frustrated with Jackson. The three offensive linemen we have in this team that are our best ones: Hunt, Williams, Armstead. So all of them move well in space. They play light on their feet. But the one thing that they do, they have that killer instinct. They're mean. They're nasty. I don't know your beard oil. I just straighten it and use conditioner and shit too.
You use one of those hot irons.
Yeah, I use one of those flat hot brushes. I use a volumizer. So that's how I dry it. That I use a hot brush on it, straighten it right up. As far as like that goes, like they're mean. They want to take your head off. They want to throw you around. Yeah. They have that swagger, right? Like that's one of the things I love about Trent Williams. We don't really see that in Eichenberg. Jackson, there's times where you're like, man, when they moved him to guard against the Bills, he drove the defensive tackle at 10 yards in the end zone. I was like, oh my God, yes. We found a spot for Austin Jackson. Then that just disappeared.
Yeah.
Man, what's happening? I actually would feel so much better if we move Austin Jackson to left guard if we found the right tackle. If Cameron Fleming came in at right tackle or Shell or somebody, and they said that's our starting right tackle, and Austin Jackson, Eichenberg, and some others are going to fight out for left guard, I would be okay with it because at least I think Austin Jackson would benefit playing next to Armstead, and I think he would be perfect at left guard. But intriguingly enough, Austin Jackson is not listed as a tackle. He is listed on the roster as offensive lineman.
Yeah.
So that might mean they are open to moving them.
Yeah, because the other guys that are marked OL are guys that have played multiple positions.
Yep,
that's a very good point.
Yeah, I think he needs the protection of this year because, ironically, we all talked about it last season, the beginning of last season, how this new zone blocking scheme was you need athletic linemen, and Austin Jackson is a little more it's not a bad athlete at all. He's a good athlete, so I'm wondering why he didn't fit in there. I know he got injured the first game. The interesting thing, though, is that we weren't going to sign his fifth-year option. But it's really funny with a straight face how Chris Greer could say, he's our offensive lineman, he's our starter, but we don't believe in him enough to give him his fifth-year option, right? That's sort of the funny thing. Like, they know they're committed to Tua for 2 years, but they are not committed past this season to Austin Jackson, which is kind of like a double, which is kind of hypocritical on Greer's part. Because if you're truly dead set on him being your guy, sign him. Then you're doubling down on him.
Yeah.
Yes, but then maybe that's going to give him the confidence. So I think you're sort of giving him a false confidence. I think that's his job to lose, but we don't believe on you passing this season, which is kind of interesting, I find.
And the same thing with Tua, like they put themselves in a situation where there's no bidding war at the end of the year, right? There's no bidding war there. There's no bidding war next year. And I'm not a big I don't know what Tua's going to do after this, but he's in a situation where it's like after this year, he's here next year, or he can be traded. But if he struggles this year, you're not tied to him more than next year. And if somebody wants to trade for him, they can.
Yeah.
But with Austin Jackson and Noah Benogany, they already cut ties. They've already, unfortunately, spent a lot of money to replace those two. They've already, now with Ramsey and Cam Smith, but if they're not signing Jackson, that means they know they need a right tackle. Think about that. Yeah. So that means they're not happy with him. They're not looking for him on the roster anymore. So, and look at the guys who didn't sign a 5th-year option in the first round. There's some guys available. I wouldn't be surprised to see some swaps. Like I'm looking at Cesar Ruiz from the Saints. Like he has not played well, but I'd like to see what he does at left guard for us. And if you could swap like a late pick or Cedric Wilson for him, I'd do that in a heartbeat because now I offload Cedric Wilson's contract and I get Ruiz. Okay, Ruiz fails. Whatever. It's not that big of a deal.
Receivers anyway.
Well, I mean, how many offensive linemen did we say with the Dolphins that were god awful and would never have a career in the NFL and they go to other teams and they're successful? Didn't the Jets or Bills just sign one of them?
Billy Turner.
Yeah, I remember
who got better in Denver and got better in Green Bay. And when I say better, I mean serviceable. Right now, all we need a left guard or right tackle is serviceable. Yeah. You already have a stud at left tackle when he's healthy. That's my biggest problem, which is why I'm glad Evan brought up the point who's the backup. And you already have a stud at center, which I want to extend him. But your right guard is solid. Your right tackle is not. So you get serviceable in the offensive line is more than good enough. And then the tight ends, yes, I think Dolphins certainly that's who the tight ends are going to be. But I think they're only using them for really blockers and partial receivers.
I really don't think I think the reason why they're not investing in the tight end, and I think it became clear during the draft, is they believe that they're there to support like as another lineman and to make simple catches and maybe to do a couple sneaks when they like to do a smite, maybe they'll do a Sauber. But really, when you look at the wide receiver core there, Cedric Wilson right now in all of our minds is the 5th or 6th receiver on this team, and he's the second highest. Was he the second or third highest paid? I think he might be making more than Waddle. So
he is, I think,
this year. Yeah, he is. So because you have Hill, you have Waddle. You have Berrios. I can't believe Berrios is wearing number 0. He's the first Miami Dolphin to wear number 0.
I love it.
And then you have Chosen Anderson. You have Wilson. You have Craycraft. Like he's not fitting there. He doesn't fit. Mm-hmm. It's the contract that's the holdback. I
don't think they're going to keep. Hang on.
No,
I just don't see it.
No chance. But by the way,
Cedric Wilson.
Cedric Wilson.
I think he's going.
Chosen Anderson. I think they're trying to redeem Chosen Anderson. I think they're trying. And by the way, he's one of the few guys who's had 1,000. It's not easy to get 1,000 yards in the NFL.
Right.
And they're trying to see if he can maybe do it.
But like Wilson, he's only had 1 true year production.
Yeah.
But Anderson, you can do a lot worse at third receiver. He's still just
okay.
Be your
deep threat. You might.
He's like a Kenny Stills who's decent. Yeah.
Who did he have his good year with?
Jets.
Was that the Jets?
Ryan Fitzpatrick, I think.
Ryan Fitzpatrick was his quarterback. Yeah. About being a Greer supporter, I'm not a Greer supporter. When it comes to drafting, I'm not a Greer supporter because he's too much of a yes man, and he did that with Flores, and now he did it this year. I like the picks as people, but he's not sturdy enough, and he's not in his convictions. That's one thing. But I do like Greer from a trade perspective because a lot of the trades he has made have been successful to allow our team to win. Like I've always said this when I first joined the network. Before we all joined a year and a half ago, we could not name the last elite player that played for this team. Was it Ricky Williams?
David Howard was it.
But on this team right now, if they are as successful as they are, even with this year you saw, even with the fall of last year, because of their name alone, we have Pro Bowlers at the wazoo. You know the Armstead's going to make the Pro Bowl. You know Chubb's going to make the Pro Bowl. You know X and Ramsey are going to make the Pro Bowl. Waddle will probably make next year. Hill's going to make it. You could have 7, 8, 9 Pro Bowlers on this team this year, and that's because that's a very big difference for us. Like to be part of a team that has name recognition for us in our lifetime, we've never had that, which is a phenomenal thing. Let me ask you a very important question as we head out, and we can go on for as long as you guys want. And if you guys are tired, we can kick it out. Brett, I want to ask you a very serious question because you've been hard on Tua for various reasons, and that's okay. You're a Herbert guy; it's phenomenal. I appreciate it. Would you be on if Tua would have stayed healthy, and we would have won a playoff game, and look at his stats in a vacuum? If it wasn't for the concussions, and he would have had 30 instead of having 25 touchdowns, he had 32 touchdowns, 6 interceptions versus 8 because of the Green Bay game. and they won one playoff game and they bounced. And now they have the team they have now. Would you be more confident with what this team can do? Or are you still, even if you had that, you still wouldn't be a believer and he's the guy that can help this team win? Because McDaniel's in love with him. So, if you're a McDaniel guy, do we have to believe in McDaniel that he knows who's the right quarterback for his offense? So take your time, man.
So the thing is, I think McDaniel's a bright guy. I think he's a smart guy. He's definitely adapts. I saw things that people didn't want to see against Buffalo. Two things. Well, against the Chargers, he actually had things open that he didn't have ready against the 49ers. Tua didn't see him. Tua wasn't prepared for that. He didn't trust it. He really struggled. Against the Bills, it happened later in the game, but McDaniels got him to settle down and find those right. He started finding those, and all of a sudden the game's like, wow, hold on, Tua's having this up a game. Everything's starting to come to him, all that. But like McDaniel seems to adapt really well. But there's no such thing as a magic system. We know this system is proven in the NFL. It's run all over the place, and it works. And it's adaptable, and that's the best part. Not everybody's going to have that tight end like Kittle, and you're going to adapt it from there. You're going to use more of your receivers like they did in Green Bay and your running backs. And it's adapted. So if Miami had won last year, that means that they would have, if they won a playoff game, that means that they would have done well enough against, let's go down to late in the season. That means they probably would have beat Green Bay, say Tua stayed healthy that game, and they would have beat New England probably, right? Is that what we might assume? Because we lost 23-21. So let's say we would have beat New England and we would have stayed beating the Jets. So then we probably wouldn't have backed into the playoffs at that point.
Right.
Because we had it in our grasp. Yeah. So no, I would feel better because that means we would have went on, let's say we beat Buffalo. Then I would feel honestly good because we won a playoff game on the road in Buffalo. Even if we got dismantled the next week, that would totally suck because I've seen us get dismantled in the playoffs too many times. Yeah. We all have. So
we weren't dismantled this year.
But then to me, that's proving something, right? That's saying, hey, we showed something. We can do, like, holy hell, we can build onto this. I'd feel pretty hyped about it. Yeah. The reason I'm not extremely low on the team now is because we fought and found a way into the playoffs. We had moments where the team looked really good, moments where the team didn't look great, but the defense at the end of the season, the second half of the season, played a lot better. Better system, better coaching. I don't know if the defensive talent is that much better now, but adding Long helps at the linebacker position. Adding Ramsey helps a lot in the secondary. Depth in the secondary. I was actually just scrolling through, I forgot about Justin Bethel, Carlson, Campbell. So there's a lot of depth in the secondary. Yeah. We got a lot of depth in the secondary now, right?
Fudgelam is really important on special teams. He's a very good
yeah, but
he can come in a pinch.
Well, we got all these guys in the secondary now, right? Yeah. So now we don't have to worry about the thin secondary. But so the defense getting better alone helps. And then if the backfield gets better or is better, I don't know if it is, with Wilson and Mostert coming in with a fresh start, I have some confidence now. But I think we can compete. But if we had done that last year, I'd feel really good about it. My biggest hang-up is what's Tua going to do? Is Tua going to take that next step? Is he going to get better? Or is he going to do what I said, like just kind of just be the game manager, divvy the ball out, and then when we need you, step up like we did against Baltimore? You don't have to have 3,000 yards a game. You know what I mean? Just have good games.
Hey, Michael, I want you to go. But for me, even if he does the basic things, Tua next year should easily have, if he plays all 17 games or 16 games, if he doesn't need to play the last game, could easily have, at the pace he was going at, can easily have 35 touchdowns, 6 to 10 interceptions, and throw for over 4,000 yards. And that's just because he's going to have receivers and running backs and weapons that will do a lot of the work for him. And that's the point of having the team. If McDaniels is focused on having a speed team, he only has to think and dunk. That's what. By the way, if you remember that game against the Chargers, the reason why Herbert was successful in that game against us, he didn't throw balls 25 yards down the field. He threw the ball 5 yards on the field and let Williams and Allen do the work for him. That's what he did.
Yeah, and then he took what the defense gave him. And then when it started opening up down the field, he started letting it rip and started taking advantage of it. And that's what Tua has to do. Tua did really good at pushing the ball downfield this year. And when it was just trying to say, screw it, let it rip.
Yeah.
He did well. But, like, he has to learn to take that balance. I think he started to learn that because Green Bay, he started to look a lot better in the first half. In the second half, imploded. So if he can – it's like it's there, but then it falls apart. If he can do that and distribute it, be a game manager, he has to basically be Alex Smith or Jimmy G this year for us to have success. Yeah. That's not me saying he can't be better than that. I'm just saying that's all he has to do this year. So no pressure. And then if he can just find a way to balance it and put everything together that he's like learned, he'll be fine. Yeah. Yes, exactly, Steve. And then this year he was all aggressive downfield. Find that balance between us two, and we're on to something here.
And the one thing that I will add to that is if he learns how to take care of himself, right? We've always said that the times that he got the concussions wasn't because the line didn't hold up; it's because he held on to the ball too long. So if he can figure out how to get rid of the ball, whether it's to somebody, so we'll throw it out of bounds. He's going to be fine. Dink and dunk. I mean, that's what Tom Brady did for years: dink and dunk, and then hit the long ball. Mm-hmm. Not everything has to be long ball. Let's keep our defense fresh too. So, I will say this real quick, Evan. With the time, I've got to roll out and get my kids to bed. Appreciate you guys. It's been another.
We'll finish for 5 more minutes with Brett, and then we'll call it a night.
Yeah, man.
Brett, you have to wake up early tomorrow, right? You have to wake up early tomorrow. How many hours do you get? 5 hours? We'll call it in a minute.
That's about right.
I'm asking you one last question. If you can't answer it, then we'll save it for another time, or you can save it for huddle up and wait. Right now, I think if you look at all the starters we have on the team, including the draft, if you include the draft picks making the team, we maybe have a spot for maybe 2 or 3 undrafted free agents. Name me, of the undrafted free agents you see, who are players that you see on the roster right now that you would easily tomorrow give up? Give me 2 or 3 players, doesn't matter. You usually give up to give a chance to the undrafted free agents that we signed to make the active roster. Take your time if you have to pull it up. Who don't you like on this team right now as a fit? And it could be a starter that we all like. But if you're not sure that he's a fit for this team or a fit for your team, who on the team just from on paper or what you've been able to read about them a little bit or what you know about them? You mentioned one earlier, so I just want to give you the opportunity just to give you 2 cents on what you see.
Let's go this route. So let's say Cook is not going to be on, right? Yeah. Let's say Dalvin Cook is no longer an option.
Yeah.
So I'm going to say I would actually give up with Myles Gaskin for him. Yeah. I would give up Myles Gaskin to bring him in because I think he offers the ability to have that zone run guy, and that's not even true at all.
No, he is a troll. He literally has never said one positive thing in his life.
Dude, oh my God. No.
Talk about a troll, eh?
I had us going like 9-8 this year, but anyway, I think he'll actually be good. I think that running back, I would definitely give him a chance because we know what Gaskin is, and I like Gaskin. Like nothing against the guy, but he's just kind of a serviceable back.
I think he needs a fresh start.
Yeah, and I'd do that. I would move him into that spot. Olave, the center. Honestly, you don't really got to move anybody. Just bring him in. Bump Dan Feeney because I think Olave's got that mean, nasty streak. Undrafted free agent center. But if he shows any type of poise or flash, I'd give him an opportunity at center because we don't have a center. No. And so I think he'd be one of them. And then, honestly, the Aubrey Miller, I don't know why he transferred from Missouri to Jackson State. But I think he's definitely a guy.
Deion Sanders.
And that might have been it. But I don't know why you leave the SEC school for that. I don't know. There had to be something else to it. But I mean, linebacker is pretty easy to kind of step in and do good. So I would love to see what Aubrey Miller offers. And Deion has had an eye for talent, so we'll see how he does. But I like Aubrey Miller, I like his tenacity, like his size. So that would be good to bring him in and then see what Tyndall. I'm not confident at all. Not saying I would cut him, but I mean I might trade him and see if cut bait that way. See if somebody wants him, but yeah, I'm not confident in it at all with him. He kind of scares me.
What would you do about Ogba before we go? Would you give an Aubrey Miller? What would you do with Ogba? If Ogba if someone was willing to take Ogba off your hands right now, would you do it?
Yeah, I'm not like. I mean, look, Ogba's not a guy I'm like, oh my god, yeah, don't get rid of him or I get him off my team. But let's see. Hang on. Cap savings if you trade him, 15. No cap savings if you cut him. If you trade,
if you cut him, it's going to cost us a lot of money, eh?
Yeah, if you trade him it's 11, but if you cut him, you lose a lot of money. So honestly, if somebody wants to trade for him, I'd see what it is, see what they're looking for or what they're offering. He's a good leader. He's a solid player.
Phillips is the future, right? I think Phillips and Chubb are really the future, though, right?
Yeah, but he plays a different role than those guys do.
But he didn't get like before he got injured, though. He was an amazing blocker of passes. He couldn't do that last year. He got injured, right? The contract hurt him a little bit.
Maybe, but honestly, Oakball had his 2 best years. He had 9 sacks back-to-back years.
Yeah.
That was twice as much as he had before. I think his highest was like 5.5.
Yeah.
So I like Oakball. I like the player. I'm not against keeping him. I'm not against getting rid of him. I think he's one of those guys that I think there's a home for him. I think there's depth in pass rushers, and I always love depth in pass rushers. I'm not in a hurry to move him. I'll answer a call that wants to move him. If somebody is interested in trading like a day 2 pick for him or an early day 3, I'll listen. And if you want to give talk about, or if he's leverage in a trade for like to get rid of Cedric Wilson or to get another player that could help us immediately, yeah. But Ogball, I think I'd leave for now. I'm not looking to move him because I think I still have questions about Phillips winning one matchups. I like Ogball in the nickel as a defensive end. I like Phillips playing off of him. I like what you could do with the package there. And I like his versatility, but I'm not like attached to the guy, but I think he like fits for now.
Yeah. I just think the depth that they got at the undrafted free agents is going to give them a lot of options, unlike they did last year. Because there's a lot of like opportunities. Because they didn't have a lot of draft picks, they have a lot of space there. And I was way more impressed with the undrafted free agent class that we have now, challenging for a lot of positions than like last year. Because I was at training camp last year, and they brought in a lot of veterans and all that. But now they brought in a lot of guys who really are looking for jobs, right? They even need to make the practice squad, even to make the players better. It's not like they brought in Mohamed Sanu. Like they're regularly bringing in like a lot of those guys, and I think that's going to make a really big difference.
Well, still, the one thing they were aggressive. Getting Peely, they offered him some money. They did it to Deets last year.
$100,000, right?
And they did it to Deets last year, and he didn't get to stick around in the team, but you're pretty much guaranteed to bring this guy in. Like, hey, come on, like we need you, we want you to compete. And competition. I just want to say this before we wrap up: the receiving room. Look how deep it is for competition for 2 spots. Right now, we know everybody, Easy E, all these guys are fighting for the last, 3 spots?
Berrios doesn't have to worry, though, right? Because Berrios
he's a returner, special teamer. He's not going anywhere. Craycraft, I think because he plays special teams, is going nowhere. So the rest of the guys are fighting for spots 4 and 5, maybe.
Guaranteed, yeah.
So, I mean, Craycraft's not necessarily guaranteed, but your receivers, especially 4 or 5, and maybe 6, how many you keep, they have to play special teams. But honestly, they're keeping 6. They're going to keep probably 4 backs, 4 tight ends, probably keep 5 receivers, 3 quarterbacks more likely, which is smart because last year was just a debacle of injuries.
I don't know. Blackman could be an aberration. Could shock people. I don't know.
Who knows?
He may have a lot to prove there. He looked very athletic. He looked like an athletic guy.
People aren't paying attention to him, but me and a couple people at the Senior Bowl, Braylon Sanders from last year, undrafted free agent last year. Braylon Sanders, I think, is a good player. Yeah. I think he's got potential. I do like him, and I would not be surprised.
Buffalo, come on! How did he miss that catch?
I think he was just kind of like, I don't know what was going on in his head with that. Yeah, and he's just got. But the thing is, I saw him at the Senior Bowl. He catches that 10 times out of 10. I'm like, Braylon, what happened, dude? And real quick on Oakball, just looked at his contract after this. So this year, if you trade him, you save a bunch. You can save $11 million or $15 million. And next year, trade cut whatever, you save $13 million. So if you can't find a good trade partner, he's on the roster, he plays for you, good veteran, and then next year you can cut him after the season or trade him after the season.
I really appreciate you stopping by. You're welcome anytime on the bandwagon. Before I do the rundown for the rest of the week, you're always welcome. You're the best, man. I really appreciate you. Are you guys doing a huddle up and wait the next couple of days, or you guys are taking a
Thursday.
Thursday, I get to do the rundown. Yep. So, guys, I get to do the rundown. Let's go. So, tomorrow, guys, it's been a phenomenal show. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Tomorrow, we have another episode of Fast Break with Alex and Clutch and other people who want to join. The Heat are up. I think they're winning right now. They were behind, but they're up 1-0. They're doing very well. And then we have, what are you showing me?
JM's asking. It's just their logo.
Very cool.
This is the Air Force logo.
Very cool. Thank you for your service, Brett.
Thank you.
And then after that we have the post-draft show WWE with Alex Brown and Alfred. Guys, really go join their show. We're trying to build up their views. I go on as much as possible. Come on, they're great guys. Come, even if you don't know anything about wrestling, if you want to learn about wrestling, have fun about wrestling, come on that show. It's just a lot of fun.
Just a lot of fun.
It's just a lot of fun. On Thursday night, I don't know when Bottom Up Pins Up, they come go, but we're going to have another episode of Huddle Up Wait with yours, Brett Lagasse and Dave Stager.
Me and Dave are back.
You guys are back. Friday nights, we're actually going to take Shabbos off. We haven't had a draft show. It's going to be crazy not to have a draft show. We've had draft shows for like 12 weeks. It's insane. Saturday, you have good stuff today. And then Sunday night, you have Once Upon a Sunday. Then we're back with Beer and Sports and East 10th Street Boy. But Brett, if you ever have time, go on East 10th Street Boy that went on last night. It was a lot of fun. I'm praying that the Heat and the Sixers make it so we can have a lot of fun with the Sixers and the Heat. And
God.
The finals would be a lot of fun with this network.
That's going to be so much fun.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. And then because also the Butler and Embiid story and then Tobias Harris, it's going to be a lot of fun. And then we'll be back next week with Real Talk Fins Talk and the Fins Bandwagon. Hopefully, we'll be talking about Dalvin Cook. We'll be talking about something else interesting, a Cam Fleming signing. Who knows? We're having a lot of fun. So, guys, don't forget to like and subscribe. Fins up. Thank you, Brett. You're the man. Fins up.
Thanks, Evan. Fins up.
Appreciate it, guys.